The year is 79 AD on the southern coast of Italy. In the shadow of a mountain called Vesuvius sat one of the most remarkable cities in the Roman Empire, Pompeii, a city of roughly 20,000 people, a city that had wine, theater, commerce, politics, and art. Its streets were paved with limestone. Its walls were covered in colorful frescoes. Its wealthy citizens had indoor plumbing, heated floors, and private gardens with fountains. The streets were so busy that the stone crosswalks still show the ruts worn by thousands of cartwheels. It was a city completely in love with life. Nobody looked at Vesuvius with fear. It had been silent for 1,800 years. The soil around it was extraordinarily fertile. The mountain was a blessing, not a threat. Nobody knew that Vesuvius was a volcano. Nobody in recorded history had ever seen it erupt until August 24th, 79 AD. The signs were there. The people of Pompeii just didn't know what they meant. For days before the eruption, the ground had been shaking. Small earthquakes, tremors had been rattling windows and cracking walls. Wells and springs had run dry. Mysteriously, people were confused but not alarmed. 17 years earlier, a massive earthquake in 62 AD had already severely damaged the city, so earthquakes were familiar. Annoying, not frightening. Some animals were behaving strangely. Dogs whining, birds going silent, horses pulling at their reins. The Roman writer Pliny the Younger, a 17-year-old boy staying with his uncle nearby, later wrote everything down. His account is the only eyewitness record we have. Everything we know about that day comes largely from his letters. On the morning of August 24th, the mountain made its first move. Shortly after noon, the mountain exploded, not a gentle flow of lava. This was something incomprehensible. A column of ash, fire, and rock shot 20 miles into the sky, higher than modern aircraft fly. Pliny the Younger described the shape like a massive pine tree, a trunk of smoke rising, then spreading into branches at the top. The sound was heard hundreds of miles away. In Pompeii, people ran into the streets. Some stared upward in disbelief. Ash began falling like snow, light at first, then heavier. Pumice stones, small, light, porous rocks, began raining from the sky. People grabbed pillows and cushions to hold over their heads. They still thought they could wait it out. The first hours were survivable, uncomfortable, terrifying, but survivable. Those who fled immediately in the first hour or two, many of them lived, but many people stayed. Some couldn't leave. Some didn't want to. Some were slaves who couldn't escape without their master's permission. Some were guarding treasure. When archaeologists excavated Pompeii, they found a man clutching coins, still trying to protect his money at the end. Some simply didn't understand the danger. Nothing like this had ever happened in their lifetime, and Pliny the Elder, the famous admiral and naturalist, sailed toward the danger to help, to observe. He would not return. By mid-afternoon, the sky had turned black. Not night black, something worse. A dense, suffocating, absolute darkness. Ash clouds blocking the sun entirely. Pliny the Younger, watching from across the bay, wrote that it was darker than any night he had ever experienced. Ash was now falling several inches per hour. Rooftops were beginning to collapse under the weight. Sulfurous gas mixed with the air. The smell of rotten eggs everywhere, eyes watering, lungs burning. Some people tied cloth soaked in water around their faces. The first gas masks in history, improvised in desperation. The harbor was no refuge. The sea had been drawn back dramatically by the volcanic activity, leaving boats stranded on exposed seafloor. Those who waited at the shore for rescue faced open sky and falling rocks. For hours, the eruption column held. Those still alive in Pompeii were buried under feet of ash, hiding in basements, waiting. But around midnight, the column began to collapse. When a volcanic column collapses, it doesn't just fall. It creates something called a pyroclastic surge, a wave of superheated gas, ash, and rock fragments, moving at 100 miles per hour, at temperatures of 300 degrees Celsius. No one in its path survived. No one could outrun it. No one could hide from it. The people in the streets were killed instantly, not by burning, but by the heat. Organs failed in seconds. The famous plaster casts we see today, those weren't the bodies. Those were the voids left in the ash, where the bodies used to be. A man shielding his face, a woman clutching her children, a dog still chained to its post, each one a frozen last moment, an entire city's final breath preserved forever. When the sun rose on August 25th, Pompeii did not exist. 20 feet of ash and pumice covered everything. Streets, temples, theaters, homes. The nearby city of Herculaneum was hit even harder, buried in 75 feet of volcanic rock. Sealed, gone. Pliny the Elder was found dead on the beach the next morning. An entire civilization had vanished overnight. Pompeii would not be seen again for 1,700 years. Here is what makes Pompeii unlike any other ancient site. The ash didn't destroy Pompeii. It preserved it perfectly, instantly. Archaeologists found bread still in the ovens, food still on the tables, a pot of garum, Roman fish sauce, still sealed and waiting. They found election campaign graffiti on the walls, love poems scratched into stone, jokes, insults, arguments between neighbors. They found a wealthy woman wearing 40 pieces of jewelry, trying to carry her valuables while fleeing. They found a gladiator's barracks, and inside, a wealthy noblewoman. History interrupted mid-scandal. 2,000 years of time had passed, but Pompeii felt like yesterday. For 1,700 years, Pompeii was nothing but a faint rumor, a ghost story, a faded memory. In 1748, a Spanish military engineer named Roque Joaquin de Alcubierre began excavations in the area. What his workers found beneath the soil stopped everyone cold. An entire Roman city, intact, waiting. The world went mad with excitement. Artists, poets, scholars flooded to the site. Pompeii sparked the entire neoclassical art movement. It reignited the Western world's obsession with ancient Rome. In 1863, archaeologist Giuseppe Fiorelli invented the plaster casting technique. For the first time, the faces of the dead returned. Pompeii is the greatest archaeological gift the ancient world ever gave us. Through Pompeii, we know what Romans really ate, how their houses really looked, what their streets sounded like. We know they had fast food restaurants, hundreds of them, with the day's menu painted on the walls. We know they had traffic problems. The streets have one-way signs carved into the stone. We know they had a laundry industry that used human urine as detergent, and it was taxed by the government. We know they loved graffiti. We know they fell in love. We know they argued about politics. Pompeii proved that the ancient Romans were not marble statues. They were people. Complicated, funny, petty, brilliant, ordinary people. Vesuvius is still there. It is still active. It last erupted in 1944. Today, 3 million people live within the danger zone of Vesuvius. Scientists call it one of the most dangerous volcanoes on Earth. The Italian government has evacuation plans, but geologists warn if Vesuvius erupts with the same power as 79 AD, the result would be unimaginable. The shadow of August 24th, 79 AD still falls over that bay. Pompeii was lost in 24 hours, rediscovered after 1,700 years, and it has not stopped speaking since. Every year, 3 million visitors walk those same stone streets. They see the same bakeries, the same fountains, the same graffiti on the same walls. Hey, stand in front of the plaster casts. And for a moment, time collapses. Pompeii teaches us something about time, about how quickly the ordinary can become extraordinary, about how a single day can end a world. And it teaches us something about ourselves, that we, too, are living our ordinary August 24th, going about our days, not knowing the bread is still in the oven, the wine jar is still on the shelf, the graffiti on the wall still says, Gaius loves Lucia. After 2,000 years, the people of Pompeii are still here, frozen in their last moment, still asking us to remember this is Pompeii, the city that vanished in 24 hours and has never really left.